everybody, and welcome finally to another proper movie-related video. It's been a long time since I've talked about movies, and I'm really excited to do it with a bang. So the day that I'm filming this, it's the Oscars night, so I don't know which film is won. Part of me really doesn't care unless it's Parasite.
Yes.
Do it. That's so fucking good, come on.
Parasite, Kwak Shin-ae and Bong Joon-ho producers.
Come on.
Parasite.
Fucking...
And the Oscar goes to Parasite.
Yes!
Yeah! I fucking did it! Yes! Knew it.
Oh my! Oh!
Knew it.
Oh!
Knew it.
Yes! This is game changing.
That's it.
This is game freaking changing.
Other than that, 2019 has been a solid year for cinema, and it has ended in a very solid way. And the decade overall was fantastic, but today we're not looking at the decade, today we'll be looking at 2019 in itself. And not at the worst movies of the year. I won't be doing that anymore because it's just a pointless exercise in negativity that I'm trying to stir away from with the years. But today I want to talk about the best films of the year. And it's not the top 10, it's not the top 20, it's the top 30. As always, remember that these are my personal opinions, so if you disagree, just tell me what you prefer. Don't take this as the be-all end-all list of the movies of 2019, okay? Write a comment down below with your choices, okay? Let's begin. Some honorable mentions before we actually start. I wanted to say that some of my favorite films of this year that didn't make the cut were Jojo Rabbit, Rare Beasts, The Farewell, Les Miserables, Monos, Ad Astra, A Hidden Life, Dolomite Is My Name, The Two Popes, Six Underground, Climax, Ready or Not, Avengement, Women, Horror Noir, and I Lost My Body. It was a really solid year. But let's get into high gear with my number 30, which is Her Smell. This was quite a surprise of a movie. It did not seem like my kind of film, but Alex Ross Perry blew me away with this really powerful and emotional story of a rock star who is fucking up her life. And the first part of the film is shot like entirely in handheld, with a lot of close-ups, and it was getting a bit annoying. It was really loud, almost obnoxious. But it actually serves this plot in a very meaningful way, and once you get in the second half, it's the kind of film that just gets better the longer you think about it. And Elizabeth Moss delivers yet again another really great performance. At number 29, we have Jordan Peele's Us. This is a film that initially when I reviewed it, I really loved, almost adored. Then I rewatched a couple times, and I've been finding more flaws. And the main flaw is that the film is trying to say too much in a way that is too literal, while almost wanting to retain some of its themes. So basically, logistically, it ends up making not much sense. But thematically, it is a very strong film, and it is for that reason that I still consider it one of the best films of the year, and it's at number 29. At number 28, we have the last film by Agnes Varda. Varda by Agnes. She was a spectacular director, highly underrated and underseen by the mainstream, so if you haven't already, check out her films like Cleo from 5 to 7 and other absolutely great masterpieces like Vagabond and the more recent documentary Faces Places. She was a true gem, a true treasure of cinema that we sadly lost last year, and this documentary is a look at her life, and boy, what a powerful life she led. At number 27 is Joanna Hogg's The Souvenir. It's an incredibly personal film for her, a film that, while I was watching it, I wasn't really enjoying the experience. It is very slow, it is very methodically told, with very little dialogue, but it works. It's another one of those films that the longer you think about it after you finish watching it, it sticks with you. It's a very, very powerful story. very low-key emotional. Some fantastic performances in this, with the daughter of Tilda Swinton as the lead. And it just looks gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, in some really, really cheap locations. So I'm really curious to see what the second part of the Souvenir, which will be coming out this year or the next, will bring. But yeah, Johanna Hogg, didn't really like Archipelago, but I really love this one in the end. The number 26 is the documentary Hail Satan. It's a funny documentary, slightly disturbing in parts, but it makes for a really compelling and alternative look at Satanism in the US and the Church of Satan. Yes, there are some people or Satanists that do really awful things and sacrifices and kidnap children, but then you also have people who are just lonely, people who do not fit in the world, and they found a way to do it together. Some of them took it to the extreme, but everyone needs a family, so good documentary. At number 25 is Dragged Across Concrete. This movie is not for everyone because it's really long, almost 3 hours long, really damn slow. It's an anti-action thriller, but it has a tremendous cast, it has really, really strong and relevant themes about racism and social status in the US right now, told in a very unapologetic, non-politically correct way. So if you're into those kinds of things, definitely check it out. And it also has a great return to form from Mel Gibson as an actor. Number 24 is Jennifer Kent's The Nightingale, a brutal, unapologetically violent and raw historical drama, rape revenge film set in the 19th century. And boy, this film was unflinching. But it is Jennifer Kent's perspective that makes this work. She presents rape and she presents the abuse of different cultures and different people in a way that is not exploitative, in a way that has true meaning and power behind it, and in a way that only a woman could have done. And Aislinn Franciosi and Baikali Ganambar, they are two stars that are absolutely going to blow us away in years to come. At number 23 is the Mr. Rogers film, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And this was an absolutely weird film because this actually plays like an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, even down to like using the same sets, the same miniatures. It is an endearing film, it is heartwarming, it is feel good, it is absolute joy put into film, and it makes for a great companion piece to the documentary Won't You Be My Neighbor, which was one of my favorite films from a couple of years ago. At number 22 we have Dr. Sleep. A lot of people haven't seen this film, some people didn't like this film, I loved it. It is a wonderful blend, very seamless between Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining and Stephen King's book, as well as Dr. Sleep, just jam-packed into one awesome movie. I'm yet to watch the director's cut, which I'm probably thinking is going to be even better than this original theatrical cut, but Mike Flanagan is a new master of horror. He dominated the 2010s, and I'm so excited to see what he does next. At number 21 is Sorry We Missed You by Ken Loach. Again, another very relevant film from a social point of view. It is tough to watch, it is endearing in certain ways, and it is also raw in its portrayal of the working class in the UK. And it will make you angry, it will piss you off, but it will also make you think a lot, and maybe, who knows, even change the way how you think about life. Number 20 is The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Another big surprise for me because I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. It is beautifully shot and orchestrated, a tale that is funny, a tale that is dramatic, a tale of race, a tale of social... Wait a second, I've been saying these things a lot. But again, like, small break, as you can see, social class, social status, questioning those things was at the key of 2019. It is something that's been going on, of course, for the entirety of the history of cinema, but 2019 in specifically looking at the entire list, it is a very, very strong and ever-present theme. So yeah, I'm gonna repeat myself a lot, but whatever. At number 19 is Booksmart, Olivia Wilde's directorial debut, and it was bloody great. It's the type of film that just shows that execution is king. You've seen these films a million times before of, high school students, it's last day, they're gonna have to party, they're gonna have to fuck shit up, woo! But it's told differently, it has a lot of heart. It has a very strong relationship at the center of it. It has representation that's done right. It is oh so good. And Beanie Feinstein and Caitlin Dever, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film. At number 18 is the Brazilian Bacurau, a film that not many people have yet seen, but was quite something to behold. It starts off as a drama about this small town that is inhabited by a very, very peaceful and colorful cast of characters. But then something weird happens, and then a lot of violence ensues, and then this becomes an homage to the 1980s and John Carpenter. It's bonkers, but in the most low-key way possible. I would say similar to Mandy, that some people hyped up as some kind of action horror film and instead it was more artistic. I would say the same thing about this. It has vibes of exploitation cinema, sci-fi and action, but it does it in a way that's more politically relevant, especially when you consider the history of Brazil that is going through with political corruption. And boy, any film that has Udo Kier in it, it's a plus for me. At number 17 is Roy Andersson's About Endlessness. Now, I wasn't really too sure if I should have put this film in the list, because many people still haven't seen it. I don't even know if it's come out in the Netherlands and in the rest of Europe yet, but About Endlessness was gorgeous. Roy Andersson basically has movies that are made almost entirely of small skits, just one single shot. A situation plays itself out and then you cut to a different story. This could be even set in a different time, in a different place. You can see some people again interacting with one another. And About Endlessness is exactly about endlessness, about life, about existence, about romance, about friendships, about love, about life, about death. Probably too slow, probably too weird for some, but I'm really, really looking forward to watching this again. And just talking about it, actually, chills down my spine. Absolutely gorgeous film. At number 16 is quite a different film. It is Knives Out, a murder mystery whodunit comedy thriller that was just pure entertainment. Ryan Johnson did a great job at homaging the mystery novels that even I grew up reading when I was little, especially Agatha Christie, Miss Marple, and all those wonderful characters of literature. And it's a clever film. It's very clever. It has a terrific cast, and it's also entertaining to watch. And honestly, I'm so looking forward to the sequel with Benoit Blanc and another mystery. This is a franchise I didn't expect would become a thing, but I'm so glad we're actually getting it. At number 15 is my favorite documentary of the year, For Sama. For Sama is a gut punch. It's oof. The situation in Syria is been going on for a few years now. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible ordeal, and the story of the director of the film, which I'm actually gonna say the name, just out of respect, Wad al-Khattab, butchered it most likely, but oof, incredibly powerful stuff. Her story, the story of her family, her being torn between wanting to stay in where she was living, because she could have easily emigrated to another country to escape the war, but if she left, what is she going to leave to everyone? It's a heavy film. It's a heavy film, there is a lot to unpack, so I definitely recommend you check it out. At number 14 is Little Women by Greta Gerwig. Now, apparently a lot of people didn't really know the story of Little Women before watching this film, and I wanted to go in it as blind as possible. I didn't want to read the book, I want to read it now. I haven't checked out any of the other adaptations, and it was magical. I got emotional in multiple parts. I really loved how she changed the structure of the novel, from what I've read, from what it's supposed to be like. And yeah, Greta Gerwig, she has grown up a lot from Lady Bird. She did a terrific job with this film, the screenplay especially, and the performances. Saoirse Ronan, terrific. Florence Pugh, this was her year. And oh man, what a cast and what a director. And speaking about Florence Pugh, at number 13 we have Midsommar. And Midsommar is a film that I wanted to watch. I watched the extended cut, really liked it. I watched the theatrical cut, really liked it. Rewatched the extended cut and loved it even more. And so here we are, number 13, Midsommar, Ari Aster, my kind of shit. Absolutely my kind of horror film. At number 12, we have easily the most controversial pick in the entire list, because it's the film J'accuse, or An Officer and a Spy. The story about the Dreyfus Affair in France. It's still very topical. You can see some strong parallelisms and some strong resemblances with the world today, with political corruption, with the corruption of the police enforcement, with people being wrongfully accused of some things. Unfortunately, it is directed by Roman Polanski, which is like a trigger warning for some people, but I don't care. He has paid his dues, he has done a lot, he has apologized for the shit he did in the past. His wife, a lot of people, everyone has apologized for what happened and is done with it, except the stupid internet. I don't care. I'm here to talk about movies. Polanski made a fucking amazing film. And so, here we are. Number 12, J'accuse. At number 11, it's Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story, which is, really good. I think it could have easily been like misery porn. It's actually really lighthearted, even though still very powerful emotionally in some key scenes of the film. But what absolutely made the film for me is the key homages to Kramer versus Kramer and Scenes of a Marriage. It basically takes those two films and copies them, but you can tell that this is a personal tale, and especially the performances by Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver were wonderful stuff. At number 10 is easily the most underseen film on this list. Well, not necessarily easily, but Deadwood, the movie. Deadwood has become a really important TV show in my life. When I started watching it at the beginning of the year, just to watch this single movie, bear in mind. It gave me so many different emotions. It is easily my favorite Western show, among my favorite Westerns in general. And this film is the conclusion that we all deserved and that we all needed. And last minute, with waltzing Matilda in the background, Ian McShane, Timothy Olyphant. It's a TV movie, but for me, this is cinema. At number 9, we have easily the guiltiest pleasure on this list, which is John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. If you've ever spoken to me in life about movies, you know how much I adore the John Wick franchise. And Parabellum, I've seen it multiple times by now, like 5 times already. I still prefer Chapter 2, but it's still a bonkers experience. Exciting as hell, clever, just pure testosterone balls to the wall. I love me some arts films, but man oh man, John Wick just scratches my itch for bloody action, and it delivers in spades. At number 8 is Pedro Almodovar's Pain and Glory, which is one of the director's most personal films, almost autobiographical. Antonio Banderas delivers the performance of a lifetime, and I'm so glad it actually got nominated for the Oscars as well. This is absolutely a film that is not going to play as well for people who haven't followed the director's career, who haven't seen many of his films, but if you have, this is an absolute wonderful trip in his mind, in his life, and it just also beautifully comes together in the simple moments of the film, especially when Banderas meets an old flame from the past. That scene alone is one of the key highlights of 2019 in cinema for me. At number 7, it's the one-take war film 1917, and I've read some really awful takes about it. I think it's a masterful film. The execution is impeccable. Is it a gimmick film? In a way, yes, but it uses it to its advantage. It shows the pain, the troubles that those soldiers go through. It shows how dirty war is, how it is relentless, and there's barely any space to breathe. But, oh man, George McKay as the lead, terrific performance, absolutely. He's going to become a great star, even though we've already seen him in other really meaningful roles like in Captain Fantastic. And Sam Mendes' direction and Roger Deakins' cinematography just... they clash together to make something majestic. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film. At number 6, it's Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. Like Willem Dafoe said, nothing good can come out of two sailors trapped inside a giant phallus. What a film! Hilarious, disturbing, weird, surreal, fantastical, Greek mythology, tragedy, farts, jokes. There is so much going on in this film. And if it weren't for the performances of Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, and for how committed Eggers was in recreating the style of the early 20th century, it will not work as well as it does, and it's terrific. It's absolutely terrific. At number 5, we have Uncut Gems. The Safdie brothers have delivered one of the most intense films of the year in a very low-key way, which is just the way I like it. Adam Sandler, wonderful performance. Career-defining? No, because his career has been defined by other roles, unfortunately. But it shows that he can act whenever he wants to. As well as Jennifer Fox, she's a newcomer. She's wonderful in the film. Almost a co-lead to Sandler in some regards. And yeah, it's a thrill ride. A film about gambling addiction. A film about terrible, terrible choices that men make under pressure. Chasing the thrill. Chasing money. Chasing greed. It doesn't pay off. But, oof, was it worth it? Who knows? It's up to you. What a film. What a film. At number 4 is Céline Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. The 2019 equivalent of Call Me By Your Name, only that this time is two women. This film, it's poetry. It is pure poetry put on screen. It is emotional. It is gorgeously choreographed and gorgeously shot. Every scene is just... The only way to describe this film for me is just... makes me speechless. It really does. And it has one of the best endings of the decade. It makes me cry every time I see it. Just thinking about this, I'm getting a little bit choked up. I'm not gonna say anything more because you don't need to know anything more. Just... Adele, Annelle, and Noémie Merlan, they are terrific in this film. And I'm so looking forward, especially for Noémie Merlan, to being more masterpieces and to watch more by Céline Sciamma because she deserves it. She is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You should definitely check out her adult films. And now, the last 3 films. I wanted to rank them. I've been changing the ranking for different ways constantly, like which is gonna be, I don't know. You probably guess which ones they are if you know me, if you know which important films came out in the year that still haven't talked about. So instead of actually ranking them, even though they are ranked on Letterboxd, I'm just gonna talk about all 3 of them together. My last best 3 films of 2019 are Parasite, The Irishman, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And those 3 films are just terrific for me. And they are the films that I've seen the most outside of John Wick Chapter 3. This year I've seen all of them at least 3 times. And they always get better with each viewing. And that's already a great sign for me, and which is why I've already put them at the top of the list. But what can I say about them? I mean, Parasite, Bong Joon-ho has always been one of my favorite South Korean directors, and this film is his magnum opus. It's hilarious, it's bold, it's clever as hell. The cinematography and the editing and the sets, they all come together to make an experience that is unlike any other I've had in cinema in the longest time, probably ever. And watching it with a crowd, hearing the gasps, seeing how they react to the change halfway through. That's what I love about movies. I love the thrill, I love the excitement, and I love the communal experience. But it's also the reason that I love The Irishman, which is a sprawling epic. That Scorsese has done before with films like Goodfellas and Casino, but this time it's different. This time, you're seeing this old man just living a normal life. There is no glamour, there is no excess, there is no excitement in this story. They're just doing a job, getting it over with. They become older and older, they make mistakes, they're digging their own graves, and in the end, they're just miserable and in complete pain. But redemption is always possible, no matter how mischievous you can be, no matter how many people you might have murdered. Redemption is still achievable. And that is why I love cinema, because it can be a completely emotional experience, something that just makes me cry, makes me think, gives me joy, and the performances by his cast. Every time I watch it, I'm just waiting for, that small movement in the mouth of Joe Pesci, like when he laughs, like the Al Pacino with Robert De Niro. So many memorable things. But it's also the reason why I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is probably might become my favorite Tarantino film. I've seen all of them multiple times, but this one just gives me so many great moments. I have chills down my spine every time I see it. Not so much because this film is hilarious as hell. It is a love letter to Los Angeles, Hollywood in the 1960s, and that changing of times. But it is also a wonderful portrayal of Sharon Tate, a character, real person, but as a character in the film, she's been criticized wrongfully. She is not a Quentin Tarantino character, she's Sharon Tate. Whenever you ask someone who is Sharon Tate, she's not an actress. She is, that one girl who was becoming famous that was murdered by Charles Manson. She has been remembered constantly over the decades, even with more recent films like Charlie Says and The Haunting of Sharon Tate. She is remembered by her death, by how she died. Tarantino said no. Tarantino said, I'm going to show Sharon Tate alive. I'm going to give her more time to blossom on the screen. In some parts of the film, you see characters CGI'd into classic scenes of movies and TV shows, but not with her. You come out of this film knowing who Sharon Tate was, remembering her as a sort of angelic creature, someone whose life was cut short way too early, and for that, as well as the Spawn's Ranch scene, as well as the absolute bloody massacre at the end, for all those reasons, I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I loved The Irishman, and I loved Parasite, and I loved 2019 in cinema. So guys, I need a breather. I've been talking for a while, but yeah, I love all those films. I really do, and the order is meaningless. The honorable mentions, they just barely made it in. On a different day, probably one or two of those films will enter the list. But in the end, I just want to know that you guys know what I love this year. I hope you come out of it wanting to watch more movies, maybe films you haven't seen before, you haven't even heard of before, directors you want to discover. Go for it. Always go for it. Try to be as positive as possible when watching movies. Try to document yourself. Why was this movie made? How did they make it? And maybe you will see that cinema is more than mainstream movies. It's more than just the Oscars and the award seasons. Cinema is life. And cinema is art. And cinema is cinema. So guys, thanks as always for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.